Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 104 of MAME Politics. It's a pretty normal day today. I don't really know what to talk about. You guys are going to have to help me out. I haven't really been paying attention to the news. So, yeah, what's going on in the chat? Hey, everybody. Hey, Tom. Good to see you. Hey, John. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Unbuttered. Hey, Director Westfield. Hey, Lewis. Hey, Adam. Yeah, so pretty wild day, right? Right, guys? Whew. I guess to start this broadcast, I just want to say that it sucks to be right, I guess, in a way. Like, I'm not excited about it. But here's, I guess, the scary part. I just want to say this up front. This could just be some kind of warning for what's to come, honestly, in the next 20 days or so, because Trump didn't actually fully flip the QAnon switch yet. Q has stopped posting, but yet this still happened. So, man, basically, at this point, Trump could make this about 10 times more intense than what we saw today with the flip, with just a snap of his fingers, like Thanos. He could do it. He could do it like in the next few minutes if he wants to. So, what's really fascinating to me is I was watching Fox News for the last hour, and the coverage on Fox News is essentially interviewing people who are inside the Capitol building, like staffers and Congress people who are basically barricaded in their own offices as if they're Columbine students during the mass shooting. And it's pretty fucking fascinating. I didn't hear his audio recording, Tom. Lori just sent me a text message saying that Fox News was trying to play his message, and it had a bunch of Windows error messages or something like that. Yeah, what a wild scene. So I'm still fascinated by people who are on the left who are downplaying Trump. Like, especially at this point. To me, it's kind of all come to a head at this point. I think it's really clear that ops are being run on the left media scene, as even the left indie media scene for the whole Trump era. And it does seem like there was an op ran of some kind to get a lot of prominent anti-imperialists and leftists to actually stand down and really not examine Trump seriously, and instead only knee-jerk respond against the mainstream media's coverage of him. And I'm sorry, but it's an op. It is. There's just no other explanation for what we've seen the last 4 years. There isn't. All the people who were apologizing for Tucker, constantly promoting him, who claim to be leftist, it's an op. It's a fucking op. Okay? I don't know exactly how it's being run, where the money is coming from, where all the engine is coming from, but this is all part of an op. QAnon, Tucker, this Euromaidan staged event that happened today where all the police stood down, this is all part of the same op. The Hill Rising, it's all part of the same op. It's all part of the same furious psyop, says Bird Worldist. It really is. There's just really no other way to explain what we're seeing. I'm not saying this is the CIA. I'm not saying it's a state intelligence agency. I'm saying that any private entities getting together, you could just have a series of private intel networks together mixed with data mining databases and analysts. it's kind of fascinating. And if this is really Trump's doing, like if this is Trump's surrogacy and his little own faction doing this, um, it's almost kind of like what Nixon did with his own spy network and plumbers, but it's almost like Trump has created an alternate lane, a full blown, like 1,000 times bigger than whatever Nixon could ever have accomplished. Um, so I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just super crazy. It's super, super fucking crazy. And yeah, I think Russiagate was probably also part of this op to some extent. Um, it all feels like it's all part of the same op. I don't even know how else to explain it. So yeah, Tulsi Gabbard's probably part of the same operation that I'm discussing. It's just it's very, very bizarre, very bizarre, and yeah, to see actual people who were considered suspects in deep state events like Rudy Giuliani, like Bernard Kerik, and people using language from conspiracy theory culture, like you actually see a former Trump official named Darren J. Beatty going on Tucker Carlson, going on these different news outlets and saying that what Biden and the Dems are doing is a color revolution and we need to watch out. There's going to be some kind of staged coup. I mean, when you get to that level, you got to start questioning, wait a second. All these people who are talking about the deep state and the color revolutions who are like directly connected to PNAC neocons, hey, maybe they're actually the ones who are behind color revolutions and deep state. It's starting to get to that level to me where it's very obvious. It's pretty much where all of those people who are talking about the deep state are representing a faction of the deep state. It's really that simple. So it's just really fascinating how we've gotten completely inverted in a way that's just mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. Wow, 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 wow. So I guess first, you know, it's just. I mean, I guess we should have learned from the '70s that COINTELPRO was designed to like destroy left activism. Um, Nobody really learned very well from that, I don't think. Oh, I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away. But yeah, it is fascinating. And to even see Trump there doing his speech and claiming he brought all the troops home, while then like his next follow up sentence is how he rebuilt the military, and hearing everybody cheered on. It's like, and then acting like he's in opposition to Liz Cheney. Like in reality, Trump is probably just as much of a bloodthirsty psychopath as her dad is. It's just like all this shit's fake, dude. This shit is fucking fake. Fake as fuck. Anyone who's been telling you that Trump has been anti-war or anti-empire this whole time is part of an op, whether they realize it or not. They are. So sorry I'm like, being like snitch jackety or this all encompassing sort of vibe coming off from me right now, but it's fucking obvious. It's so obvious. Um, and if I'm missing anything happening right now, please drop it in the chat. Please drop it in the chat. Please drop it in the chat. And yeah, I don't think it's a coincidence that a major inner left, like major rift, like blew up right before this Capitol building thing. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not a coincidence. It's not. It's not. Um, things got real weird the last week. I don't know if you guys noticed. A lot of people were really, really magnetized to go to these either polls of this blatantly manufactured debate. And it was kind of sad to see some of my followers and allies getting sucked into those polls, because it's like, dude, you're being worked. This is some kind of work. AOC fucking sucks. The squad sucks. It's obvious. They do. But this is some kind of weird work, man. I don't even know what else. Like, I know I'm just sound like a paranoid lunatic right now, probably to some people, but like, this is very weird. Very weird shit. So yeah. Yep. And Yasha Levine, if I just want to comment on that force to vote thing, Yasha Levine was the only person that I thought that wrote anything of value about that. He nailed it in his piece, 100%. 100% nailed it. Not only is the squad a farce, but a lot of the people involved in that opposing the squad are a farce too. So that's kind of the problem. And Yasha Levine just kind of cuts through all the bullshit like a fucking, like hot knife through a fucking giant stick of butter. Just like, so yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, maybe Ilhan Omar was maybe the best one out of the four. But all politicians are going to disappoint people and sell out, and it's very rare that they don't. So it's like, come on. What do we expect out of these people? Oh, do we have an Alex Jones fan in here? Hey, the artist formerly known as Brian Telfer, what's your take on Alex Jones being blatantly controlled opposition? If you're a fan of him, do you know you're being conned? What's that like? What's it feel like to be conned? An overdose on hopamine. Does it feel good? Anybody who has alphabet letter for a name is definitely gonna sell out. That's pretty funny. Oh, I'll fully admit to it, John. I used to watch Alex Jones all the time. I'll fully admit to that. You can expose me. You can expose me, bro. I'm not embarrassed. But yeah, it's just, to me, at this point, it's like, wow, how did so many people get fooled the last 4 years? It's a similar, you could ask the same question. How did so many people get sucked into QAnon the last 4 years? If it's just a LARP. Well, I think the same answer applies to both questions. How did so many leftists get conned by Trump or get the wool pulled over their eyes? And how did so many people get sucked into QAnon? And I'll just imitate Gorka for a second. Because it's an op. It's a con. That's how it happened. So it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary to look back and think, wow, the left was under like a huge assault infiltration effort designed to basically destroy it and dampen it and make it almost a completely ineffective counterbalance to whatever Trump was doing. Absolutely fascinating. Yeah, I don't have any tolerance for QAnon people right now, or Alex Jones people. I don't know, Terror Toddler, but quite a few. We know that Cassandra Fairbanks gained all this credibility via WikiLeaks. That needs to be seriously examined. As leftists, we can't just blanketly, religiously defend Assange and omit all these other things about what WikiLeaks has done. It's just dishonest. So yeah, I'm glad Assange was his trial. Yesterday they decided that he won't be extradited to the United States. But at the same time, if you're just a leftist who's like defensive and or lies of omission about what WikiLeaks did, then I just don't respect you. It's just I don't know. It's not honest. So and I understand a lot of people don't like to be honest because they don't want to feed into what they perceive as a pile-on effect. Like, I think a lot of people didn't want to be honest about Tulsi Gabbard because she was getting smeared by the MSM, even though I've said all along that she gets more MSM coverage than almost any other politician that's even remotely like anti-war. And for her, she's clearly calculated that bad press is good press, which a lot of celebrities and people who've climbed the ladder have done. She gets a constant stream of press attention. So I don't really buy into this idea that she needs to be defended because she gets smeared. So, yeah, I can understand why people don't want to pile on to criticize someone when the mainstream media is going after them, but you still got to be honest. I mean, like, what's the point? This is not, if you want to play this as a game, as information war, then yeah, I guess, but that's not honesty. That's just kind of like, that's just politicking on a different level. So if you think like AOC sucks because she's dishonest and a sellout, well, then you're kind of doing the same thing by politicking, just in the scene as an activist. So just keep that in mind, that being honest and actually like talking about real shit is always probably the way to go. Yeah, investigate 311. I agree with you on that. I mean, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's why I think, I think it's ridiculous to say that WikiLeaks is just some kind of CIA cutout or Assange is like some kind of agent or something like that. Of course, that's going way too far. But like, I don't know, man. I'm much more convinced now that the person who leaked or whoever leaked those emails to WikiLeaks, the Podesta and the DNC email leaks, were part of some kind of larger operation that probably had the help of intelligence insiders in the U.S. government. I do not believe that it came from Russia. I believe the Seth Rich story is a cover story. It's disinfo. It's a red herring. It never had legs. It was part of a larger QAnon. It's obvious that it was part of the larger like QAnon Pizzagate engine. So, yeah, I mean, to me, the most likely explanation of how they got those emails was a U.S. intelligence insider. And a WikiLeaks lawyer let that slip twice on a Fox News interview. She actually said it's that they have reason to believe an NSA whistleblower of some kind gave them those documents. And that actually makes more sense than a Russian hacker, than Seth Rich. It does. So, just a theory of mine. I'm not saying WikiLeaks did it, laundered intelligence intentionally, an intelligence leak. I don't think they did, but if at some point somebody in WikiLeaks realized that, then of course they're not going to want to admit to that they got conned by some NSA whistleblower who was trying to like be part of an operation. So it makes sense why a lot of WikiLeaks representatives have gone off and tried to decouple Pizzagate from QAnon, tried to obfuscate all this actual reality about QAnon. They're doing like, 100 tweet threads on QAnon that ultimately are just like very clear, limited hangouts. And you're like, wait a second, what are they not talking about in this thread? So you just got to really look. Terror Toddler. Well, I will say as a counterpoint to that is that WikiLeaks pager 9/11 pager data. A lot of people in the 9/11 truther community have long, said that WikiLeaks is an enemy to that world because Julian Assange has said some things about it. But I've found actually their WikiLeaks pager 9/11 pager dumps to be very, very, very useful for researching some pretty important things. So that's my only counterpoint to that. There is some really valuable data in those pager leaks. It helps establish a really clear chronology of exactly the timeline of media propaganda on the day of 9/11. And Neil, no, I have not seen Michael Tracy's tweets. What could he possibly be saying right now? Probably just knee-jerk contrarian stuff, right? He's not actually giving an honest, transparent take on the event. He's just giving a reactionary or some kind of knee-jerk take about how the media is talking about it, I would imagine. I haven't seen like just a straight take from Michael Tracy in a long time, honestly. Hey, Jenny. Good to see you in here. Francisco Raposo. Yes, I would have published the docs if I was in WikiLeaks' position, but would have also published the docs that were Manafort's text messages leaks, all the other leaks that came out from Trump officials that WikiLeaks did not publish. So I would have at least tried to be like, you know what? I don't want to appear that I am doing some kind of a partisan op. So I am also going to leak all these other available leaks from Trump officials, including very embarrassing text messages where Manafort's daughter is talking about how her mom is basically a sex slave and turned into some cuckold, toy for the husband to use and have like trains run on his wife, and how it's like ruining the kids' lives. I mean, yeah, it's not maybe that politically damaging, but it's like, why didn't WikiLeaks publish the Manafort text messages? Like, so those kind of things, if I was in WikiLeaks' position, I would have published that kind of stuff too, just so people couldn't, and just not just out of fairness to, expose some of the Trump side, but just in general, optically even, just so I wouldn't leave myself entirely open for the attacks that I was part of some kind of partisan, thing to sway the election to Trump. So that's the only thing I would have done differently in that scenario. I probably would have also not violated my long-standing rule of not disclosing a source and said on TV or alluded on TV that my source was Seth Rich. Let's just say, even in theory, if that's true, isn't that a violation of the WikiLeaks principle? Source. So what the fuck was that shit? So that kind of stuff, yeah, I wouldn't do that shit. And just, I guess, speaking personally, I probably wouldn't have. Well, I'll refrain from saying that. Let's just say if I was touring the world showing off a video of children being murdered in Iraq, I probably would keep my dick in my pants for that tour. Just knowing that there might be people trying to like ruin me. I'd probably do that. So that's all I'll say on that. And no, I don't believe at all. I don't believe the sexual assault story in that regard, but it's still, it's like we just got to talk about this shit honestly. I think. So no, I'm not into this hero worship crap. I'm done with it forever. I'm done with that shit. But yeah, it's a weird predicament that Assange is in, is that he, you know, was denied bail even though he basically won in terms of battling against the extradition in court. But the bail wasn't granted. So I'm not sure what that means for him. If he has to stay in jail in the UK, what are the charges still? Suspense is killing me. Says, it's clear that what's happening to Assange is mainly meant to discourage future whistleblowers. I slightly disagree. Suspense is killing me. I think it's meant to discourage future journalists or publishers who want to publish leaked documents. I think that's specifically what it's designed to do, because Assange himself is not technically a whistleblower. You could make that argument for Reality Winner, Snowden, Chelsea Manning, but specifically in Julian Assange's case, he was a publisher of leaked information. So I think that they are really trying to send a chilling effect for anybody in that position, whether you're just a random person who has a blog that's given leaked documents, if you're a mainstream journalist, pretty much anybody across the entire spectrum. So yeah, I know I just went off on a complete rant and I'm like really fired up. I don't even really know what I'm saying. I'm just like, it's just incredible to me that I watched a Tucker Carlson segment from 3 weeks ago saying that the election of Joe Biden was a coup d'etat, color revolution. The elites, the globalists, are doing a color revolution here, probably with the help of the CCP, China. And the guy is a fucking neocon from the Hudson Institute. And I'm just thinking, wow, so they're just going full Alex Jones InfoWars now. It's not even connected to QAnon. And then today we witnessed something that looks almost identical to the Euromaidan stuff. So it's just really odd. It's almost like, oh, you were gaslighting us into thinking that the other side was going to do this when it was actually fucking you guys. That's pretty clever. So maybe we should actually operate on that, in that framework from now on, is think, well, maybe some of these neocon shills who are using conspiracy theory language are actually the ones planning to do the shit they're warning about. Yeah, David Kapoor, I agree with you. The police had to have let it happen. This is an unprecedented event. There's video footage already from the inside of the Capitol building of them fucking taking selfies with the cops. One of the cops actually says, as he's helping evacuate the people out of the building, well, you like us now, huh? This was reported by a journalist there. The cops are in on it. They're not even trying to hide it. So it's like, yeah, guys, this shit's real. There's brown shirts all over these police forces, all in law enforcement. There's secret QAnoners all the fuck over this country in law enforcement, in the courts, in the army. Yes, it's real. Very real. John Gold says, if it was anti-war people or blacks, what would have happened today? Mass murder, John, would have happened today. We would have seen Kent State on steroids. There would have been a bloodbath in the Capitol building. They would have had to mop the fucking floors of protesters' blood. That's what would have happened. That's what would have happened. Yeah, Adam G, I saw that. I saw that. And there's a lot of leftists out there right now who are like, be careful about conspiracy theorists in our movement. You're hurting our movement. There's this like leftist saying like has like a weird animated gif of like saying like don't, because this all happened when people were like, the graffiti at Nancy Pelosi's house looks staged. So then all these people were like, don't fucking spread conspiracy theories, like you're fucking ruining our movement. And like I feel like those same type of people would react to that video of the cops opening up the barricade willingly for the protesters and just simply not believe their eyes and be like, don't take this video out of context, we don't know that they did this, stop spreading conspiracy theories. Like, yes, they fucking obviously did it, dude. All the signs are there. Stop denying reality because you have some sort of knee-jerk reaction against conspiracy theorists. Stop denying reality. It's right in front of your fucking face. Makes me sick. It's like, what is wrong? So my working theory on QAnon now, I'll just tell you really quick. Here's how it happened. Here's how QAnon happened. QAnon, the main engine for QAnon was massive data mining. Whether Silicon Valley's companies were willingly in on this or not, I don't know. Or if someone else who had bought a bunch of their data was responsible. It could have even been a firm like Cambridge Analytica that provided the basis for the analysis. You start with a massive database of data mining to learn human psychology, to learn what conspiracies would prime the pump the most and hit the reptile brain. Then what you do is you set the stage for connective tissue and narrative surrounding real data leaks that have in them what appears to be coded messages, the John Podesta leaks. So you prime the pump for that, like you had FBI Anon, which could have just been a guy in an office working for a small network of private intelligence agencies going on 4chan and saying, hey, this is going to happen with Hillary, whatever. They obviously had advanced knowledge that these email leaks were coming with Podesta as well. And all you had to do was just have maybe like a few hundred people, 100 people going on Reddit, going on Twitter, going on 4chan, going on 8chan, whatever, and creating connective tissue to make it seem like everybody sort of unanimously agreed that this code in the emails was all about pedophilia. And that's how Pizzagate started. And then it just sort of amps up from there. But I really do think that this could have just been like a few $1 million operation, like under $10 million operation. The data mining aspect of it could have caught, that might have been the most expensive part. And then you just simply have a few private intelligence agency type groups priming the pump on the internet constantly with fake posts. Constantly. And then it catches from there. I mean, I don't know if this happened at all. I have no proof of it. But it's not organic. It's not a LARP. It's obvious this was some kind of sophisticated operation. That doesn't mean it's a CIA psyop. Doesn't mean it's the Mossad. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that we've entered an era where you don't have to have actual government insiders, except you did need someone to get those emails. So that was a primary component to it that needed someone with inside access. That was not Seth Rich. Seth Rich is a wild goose chase red herring. I'm absolutely convinced of it. 100% convinced. And honestly, when people are like, well, what about that Cy Hirsch recording of him, saying he knows an FBI source who saw the Seth Rich thing? And I'm like, well, Seymour Hirsch has been worked before. Don't you know this history about him? He's one of those access-based journalists who's constantly reporting on stories based on anonymous insider sources. So yeah, there is some value in doing that kind of journalism, but at the same time, like, how do we know Seymour Hirsch isn't capable of being worked? I don't know that he's not. He wholesale just like ripped off someone else's scoop about the Bin Laden thing. That was revealed. that he didn't scoop that. That was like someone scooped from like 3 years earlier. So if we're looking at that as the smoking gun, that's bullshit. That Seth Rich was the leaker. That's total fucking horseshit. So is the VIPs thing. I'm sorry. I'm going to go off a little bit here. Bill Binney seems to have descended into some form of deep mental illness. His house was not hit by a directed energy weapon. Okay? So if we're leaning on the VIPs thing now too, that's not good either. That's not good either. I mean, honestly, I was really concerned about him when I saw that. I actually told someone to please do a wellness check on him because that is worrisome. I know Bill is an amputee. He probably needs some regular health checkups, from a nurse or something. He's an old guy. So when I saw that, I'm just like, he's probably really suffering, and it's really sad to think about what must be going on in his head, to think a directed energy weapon hit his house. That's really sad. Oh, and Susie Dawson did like a 50 tweet thread about how if Bill Binney says a directed energy weapon hit his house, then a directed energy weapon hit his house, and here's why. Yep. So there you go. Our hidden history says maybe he's just been at the U.S. Embassy in Cuba. That's possible. It's possible they shot his brain. Well, I'm not trying to make light of it at all. I won't do that, because if he is having some kind of mental or psychotic bipolar episode, schizophrenic episode, I worry for him. I feel my heart breaks for him. So I don't want to make. I'm going to try to stop making fun of mental illness moving forward, because this shit's not funny. I mean, I think it's, sometimes I have to laugh at it, but at the same time, it's like, this is actually not funny anymore. These people are fucking, like, this is a mass psychotic break that's happening. Oh yeah, David, I heard she was back in the administration for sure. For sure. And what great timing too, that she's back in the administration right when a Euromaidan style protest erupts in the Capitol building. Kind of fun. Fun shit. Really fun shit. Oh yeah, the Iranian stuff happening right now is very, very odd. That two air traffic controllers in New York City heard a warning coming over their air traffic control system saying that someone's going to get revenge on the killing of Soleimani, and like a warning. Investigate 311. I'll just say that, yeah, I do have thoughts on him. And the verdict is still a little out for me. The LaRouche PAC stuff that Benny and him have been doing, and Roger Stone's involvement with the LaRouche PAC, raises serious questions for me about where his head is at right now. So that's all I really say about that. There's something odd. There is something odd. So I don't know. I don't even fucking feel like playing this pinball game, guys. I have to admit, I'm like sick to my stomach right now. I feel like queasy after watching what I saw today. Horrifying. I mean, I actually was watching Trump's speech thinking, oh, this is just like a terrible speech. This is like a shittiest, if this is his like big moment, he's fucking it up. He just sounds like a narcissist. He sounds like a total baby, and then all of a sudden it's like, phew, it just like all this shit happened. So yeah, Director Westfield, I saw that there was a woman shot in the Capitol. She looked like she was shot in the neck. Very disturbing. Investigate 311. He personally does to me, but the VIP's intelligence project, I think, is some kind of. I have decided it's some kind of cover story. It's not the real story. I don't know why they did that, but it appears like it was designed to try to reinforce the Seth Rich story. I don't buy it at all. I don't buy it. I do buy, however, that it was an insider who got access to those. I do buy that. And it is a little interesting that Bill Binney is the man who takes credit for creating ThinThread. And one of WikiLeaks' lawyers did let slip on television twice that they believe the Podesta emails came from an NSA whistleblower. So I don't know why the story changed later. Nobody ever tried to claim that Seth Rich had the Podesta emails. In fact, it seems like the Russiagate debunkers and the Russiagate believers both buy into this bullshit story that those emails came from a spear phishing attempt into Podesta's emails, which I've never fucking believed that. So it's super weird to me that like unanimously both sides of that argument are like, yeah, it was a spear phishing because we need to make the Seth Rich theory work, so we're going to fucking omit this shit. It just works out better for us to omit it. Yeah, Michael Buchanan, we got to root out what CIA shills are inside the avant-garde and electronic music scene who designed this new logo for the CIA. We got to root those motherfuckers out, dude. Who are they? Yeah, people were complaining about Whitney Webb. I saw some people even in this chat earlier. They were getting mad that she was making some wild sounding predictions to them. But she was right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I don't know the full scope of how many times Whitney was trying to warn about something like this happening, but like she's not someone who's just in this, like she's not an Alex Jones person who's trying to hype up things just to constantly get people's, endorphins going and fear mongering. This was something that there's a legitimate reason to believe that things were culminating to some kind of really bizarre event. And now we've sort of seen it. And now we also know that QAnon, whatever the QAnon energy is right now, whatever Trump is doing with it right now, he can go 10 times harder. He can go 100 times harder than what we saw today. And that to me is the really scary part. So what is going to happen between now and January 20th or whatever? If you guys got any questions for me, I suppose I'll play some pinball now. I suppose that's what I'll do. Yeah, Triox, I agree. I agree. But you know what, Triox? I think a lot of people are also in denial about that. I think there's a cognitive dissonance about that too. So how do we have that? How do we push that conversation more? Triox said the cops working with insurrectionists angle needs to be pushed super hard. Yeah, how do we push that? Because that's one big difference between this and like whatever people say about Antifa or BLM. The police are never, on the side of Antifa or BLM. It is primarily on the side of the right protest. Maybe in some unique circumstances there was some of that happening, but no, Catherine. I think the only reason there's so many people in here today is just because things are just fucking heightened as hell right now, and I was up early enough to be tweeting about a lot of this stuff, so that's probably the only reason why there's more people here. It seems like when I stream during anything that's like heightened or that's like currently ongoing, there's always a little bit more people here, just as a general rule. Jesse True says, "What emulator is this? This is called, I believe it's called Visual Pinball." And there are several different versions of this same concept where it's like people who have ripped all the assets from real pinball games and made like virtual playable machines. But this Getaway thing, or not, it's not Getaway thing. This is the game, the Getaway. This visual pinball emulator is fucking high quality as fuck. It's like someone made almost like a game engine, 3D game engine with nice enough lighting. I don't know if it's using the Unreal Engine or what they're doing, but the actual like lighting inside the virtual pinball machine and the reflections and the illumination and even the mechanics, the physics of it is spot the fuck on. Like someone must have put an enormous amount of work into doing this. I mean, you could just see the screen right here, the little I don't even know what they're called in pinball. Those little almost like tracks. They're sort of elevated from the ground. Like even just the design of those looks really, really quality. And you could see the plastic, the reflection on the plastic is like pretty dialed in. I mean, you usually don't see plastic in like high quality video games. So to just see like so much plastic, little plastic pieces, like reflective pieces in the pinball machine is pretty cool. Like it looks borderline photorealistic. Not the background as much, but like the actual, the guts of the pinball machine. It's like close to looking pretty photorealistic, which is just really neat to me. I mean, it would almost be cool if someone was able to make an augmented reality version of this, where it's like you wear goggles or glasses, and you're just staring at a blank pinball machine that has like real paddles and stuff, but that what you're seeing in your glasses is an augmented reality, 3-dimensional. You move your head around and you can like see inside the machine as you're playing it. That would be really cool. Okay, yeah, it does look like a video, doesn't it? It looks pretty good. I mean, let me actually just show it to you guys. The sound was kind of messing up earlier, so let me see. What am I gonna do to do this? I can't. Kevin, timeout. I don't really tolerate that kind of talk. The where's the blood stuff is, to me, it's so damaging when we have this kind of discussions for in terms of credibility that it might as well be some kind of op. Honestly, I don't. I'm completely intolerant of that kind of discussion in here. Saying that somebody didn't really die who's dying on camera is probably one of the most grossest things you can do, unless you are 100% certain that that's the case. in the rare, very rare circumstance, like that guy in Ukraine. Who was that guy? Wasn't like a Ukrainian politician who like faked his own death on TV or something? People very, 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 very rarely can manage to fake a death on film. That is highly unusual. So just please don't be dumb. Um, no, Triox, not the poison guy. I don't think he was poisoned. I think he was actually I think he was shot. I mean, Nim Chimpsky, I guess technically he could, but I don't think he did. I don't think Epstein faked his own death. Um, Honestly, the only person that I can think of from the last maybe 150 years, American, that I think maybe actually did fake their own death is John Wilkes Booth. But I think to actually fake your own death, you need like a lot of people in on a conspiracy. It's unless you're like a high level trained intelligence asset over like a course of decades who knows all the tricks. I don't think that you can fake your own death by yourself very easily. It's pretty much impossible. So I think actually in John Wilkes Booth's case, there's evidence to suggest that they basically that there was not a body double for him necessarily, but a guy who was looked enough like John Wilkes Booth, who was like used to throw law enforcement off the trail, and even some of the people hunting down John Wilkes Booth knew this to be the case, that they were actually letting John Wilkes Booth escape, but hunting down someone who was like basically a framed lookalike, who looked enough like John Wilkes Booth that when they killed him, people who were involved in that manhunt would believe that they had just killed him. So yeah, Bird Worldist, that guy is that's fucking ridiculous. Brendan, yeah, nobody made it. I mean, so few people made it through the Trump era clean who dabble in conspiracies. Why is that? Why did the Trump era make everybody lose their fucking minds and go off the rails? But I don't know. I can't speak to that book specifically. I'm gonna try to play this. My screen is giving me problems. Give me a second. Okay, turn back on there. That's good. But the sound is not on now. I'm not sure why. Yeah, the sound is off. Here, you know what? I'm going to actually exit out of here and see what the hell's going on. Why can't I get sound? Shit. Blue screen of death. Well, not quite the blue screen of death. I was just making fun of Fox News for having Windows errors on it. And now look at me. Okay, we should be hearing something coming out of here. Okay. I gotta test out the sound. No, I haven't seen them, Tom. What's he saying? Brendan Garcia, really? He discusses that in the interview with Matt Taibbi? David Kapoor, Robbie, have been wondering if you have a concise thesis elevator pitch for the Freemasonic history of the U.S. No. I kind of wish I did, though. You should help me write one. Help me come up with an elevator pitch. If you've heard all 5 parts, especially, because it's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 parts when it's finished. And now I'm sort of pressed for time. And I will basically need to cover about 25-year chunks in the next 3 to 4 episodes. And that's a tall order. Because I have been, in the last few episodes, covering 10 to 12-year chunks in the chronology. I'm still not getting any sound for some reason. I wonder why. Oh no. There it is. Got sound. Finally. Okay, actually no, this is called the Pinball Arcade. So whoever was asking about it before, there's several different... Oh god, no. Oh no. I'm going to get copyright striked if I play that stupid ass... It's like a Rush song, I think, that plays in the background of this. Fuck. I mean, for me, the only really playing these old pinball games, it's all about the sound. I mean, without the sound, and if it just sounded like digitized, like if you were just hearing like recreated sounds or like fake sounds instead of the actual sounds from the game itself, and it has even the screen image of the game itself, then I almost don't see a really a point to do it. And I was really surprised at how realistic this feels, and just in terms of the sound. Very, very impressed by just that. And obviously, I've probably talked about Dan Forden here a couple times as well. Fuck, it went fucking off again. The sound went off again. I gotta show you guys the sound. It's so important. Shit. This is lame. If I don't full screen it, I think it'll actually work. It seems like something about trying to full screen this program. Oh no, here it comes. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now unfortunately my screen just turned off, so the only way I'm really going to be able to do this is by looking at my screen, like that I'm doing the stream on, and it's going to be a little delayed. So I'm just saying this up front to let you know that I will admit I suck at pinball and I suck at most games, but I'm going to be worse than normal right now, because imagine trying to play pinball, virtual pinball, in like a 2-second delay. So that's, or like a 1-second delay, more like. That's what I'm going to be trying to do right now. So here we go. Please also let me know if anything crazy happens with these Trump protests. Okay, so this is Dan Forden. Oh shit, wait a second. Ah, shit. Okay, sorry. Here we go. So Dan Forden is the sound designer and composer of the Mortal Kombat series. And he did a bunch of the music and the sound for this game. I think he actually did all the sound and whatever music in this game. Somebody said this is ZZ Top. It's like an FM synth. Sounds like an FM synth cover of ZZ Top done by Dan Forden. Ah, fuck! So do those little sounds remind anyone of Mortal Kombat a little bit? Because they really remind me of it a lot. Holy shit. See, like, this wouldn't be fun if it didn't feel exactly, if it didn't have the exact same sound in the screen from the original game. Like, when people talk about, you know, they used to release a lot of pinball games for consoles and stuff. Those never appealed to me. It was only just a real pinball game because it's like an actual mechanical, you know, device of some kind. It's like, I think this does a pretty good job of making you feel like you're actually playing one.
Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law.
I'm gonna play another one. Whoa. Nice. Protesters just attacked ABC Press a couple minutes ago. Well, I hope no one actually got hurt, but for some reason I just think I have to laugh. I was actually pretty impressed to see there's a Fox News like field reporter guy walking away from the Capitol building, and there seemed to be like a bunch of like MAGA protesters sort of like shadowing him and in like an angry, intimidating way, and he seemed kind of spooked. And that went on for about 10 minutes. I'm smoking pot. I'm smoking pot while I'm playing pinball. Right after Trump just tried to start a riot inside the Capitol building. That's what I'm doing. Fuck, dude. Any other pinball games you guys want me to play that you saw on that screen?
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to...
Well, Sibley Proxy, does it seem staged to you? That's a hard question to answer because, I mean, it's not fake. These people aren't hired actors, but it's staged in the sense that the president literally incited a riot and has been priming the pump for a mass mental illness cult called QAnon for the last couple of years. So it's definitely staged in a certain way. If you've listened to what I've been saying the past like hour or so about how QAnon is some kind of operation. Yeah, Jesse, true. Well, it's the same guy. It's Dan Forden who's doing the FM synthesis sound design, and I think they actually use the same chips, the FM synthesizer chips. Although the actual like digitized sound in some of these older Midway pinball games sounds really higher quality than what was even in like arcade games from the time. Let me try to find another one. Did someone say the Twilight Zone earlier? That's a good idea. Do that one. I don't think I've played this one yet. Oh, dude, it's like an FM synth. Oh, fuck yeah. Holy shit. Oh my god. What? Are you kidding me? What in the fuck? This is amazing. Holy shit. What? Wow, I'm so glad I clicked on this. Love it. Just like an endless drum solo with like the Twilight Zone music. Yeah, dude, Tom, it is crazy. I wonder who made this game. See, I was under the wrong impression, Tom, when I think I talked to you like a week ago. I was like, oh yeah, like Midway changed the game in terms of like sound design. And in their video, I feel like they did in terms of our like video games, arcade games, but I've been playing some of these other pinball games from other companies, and they all, like most of them have amazing sound design. I'm very impressed. Because if you think about it, it's like there were, you know, they didn't have to like, all the sound could be basically invested in sort of the automatic playback experience. There's not really that much. I feel like, I don't know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but it's just a cool thing that there's so much like retro game sound and music in old pinball games. I mean, so I have a lot more exploring to do, I think. I want to sample some of this shit. Soul Man, you can. We'd have to lower the tempo, like a half tempo version of this or something. Like this is probably like 130 BPM or something. Do like a 65 BPM. Or just maybe slow it down by like 25% or something. You already heard it, Mr. A, the whole fucking song. Pinball Effects, Volume 5, Plaza. Ooh. See, that's nice. I like that. I like that, Jesse. I appreciate that. As long as the torrents aren't like malware that you're posting, which is probably hard not to know. I mean, I don't know how you would know if they are or not. I don't mind people posting torrents in the chat to retro stuff. I would just say refrain from posting any torrents to like anything that like is really on the copyright radar right now. Like, you know, don't post torrents to like PlayStation 3 games or, you know, Nintendo Switch games or things like that. You want to drop a link to some ROMs in here at any time, emulators. Actually, I've never really talked about this on the show before. I would say almost all retro game channels on YouTube are like they act like they're anti-piracy, and they always sort of encourage people to get EverDrives and all that kind of stuff. But like an EverDrive, I mean, like all those people just have the EverDrive thing where it is just piracy. It's just they're just playing it on the real machine. So there's really no ethical difference to me between having like an EverDrive with all the games on it and then just having all your games downloaded on a computer playing on an emulator. So I don't want to spell it out too clearly, but I don't own. No human being owns every single game that they have and that they're showing you on their YouTube channel. But I personally do own a warehouse full of every arcade and pinball machine. This is a real-time HTC Vives reprojected 3D photograph version of my warehouse right now. So I was lying earlier when I said that this was a virtual representation. This is a real-time video. So I have Twilight Zone. I just never turned it on before. That's why I was surprised when I was like, whoa, like I have all these pinball games in my warehouse. Some of them I just don't have time to play. Never checked them out. But yeah, back to what I was saying. You can drop, if you want to drop ROMs in here for systems that are like over 10 years old. I feel like within 10 years it can get a little more dicey. But 10 years old, it just seems like even the companies themselves don't give a shit. I mean, there's people selling, bootleg Nintendos all over Amazon with like the entire game library, and it's just like allowed. So I don't think people can fucking, it's over at this point. It's not like you're doing damage if you're, playing emulators with games that you do not own, is basically the point I'm trying to make. Let's play this shit. I heard the PS5 sucks right for now, except for the following. You get 60 frames per second performance out of pretty much any PS4 game, which is pretty impressive, but at the same time, it's just the same PS4 game, but really, really smooth. So you'll like almost never get any frame drops in Red Dead Redemption 2 or, Death Stranding or that, like games like that. They run like very, very high frame rate on the PS5. Second, a lot of games are already using their new like ray tracing lighting system, but it is not really that impressive graphically. It gives things more of like a tactile look. You can kind of tell looking side by side between PS4 and PS5 games. There's a lot of videos online that do that. And then the other thing that's supposed to be most impressive about it is that it has a really like new and advanced haptic response kind of controller that can make like vibrate in all these really interesting ways, and then also Scuba Steve, that's funny. I don't listen to Anywho, no idea. And then apparently it also has like haptic response when you're pushing down on buttons and stuff. Yeah, load times too. But here's what I would recommend. Someone said you should always wait a while when you buy a new system, let them fix the bugs and shit, said Brendan. Yeah, I agree with that. And then I think specifically with the PS5, did anybody see that Unreal Engine 5 demo where they were claiming they were running it off PS5 hardware? Well, that engine isn't going to be available to game developers until like 6 months from now. And it's not going to be officially released until like a year from now. So don't expect to see PS5 games that even look remotely that good and that utilize the Unreal 5 engine until maybe like a year and a half to 2 years from now that are fully developed. You might see some demos or something like that, some playable demos, but the Unreal 5 engine is going to be like completely game-changing. Because at this point, GPUs and CPUs can already really adequately push out pretty much anything that games try to do. And definitely there's some exceptions to that. Like if you crank up the settings all the way up super high in like your PC games, you'll definitely get slowdown and stuff. But it's basically now it's almost like the speed of the hardware has actually surpassed now like what the software is trying to do and how it's trying to push it. Like there needs to be a new engine that kind of changes the game. So Unreal 5 seems to be that it's kind of going to be like that. And it will be for PC games too. It's not just going to be for, PS5. But after going to PC games, like recently, after playing more of them, not just retro games, but actual just PC games that are like also on PS4 and stuff. Um, I really see no reason to be strictly a console gamer. Because if you really think about it, like Xbox, PlayStation, even like if you go back to like 3DO and Philips CDI, they were always trying to infringe on the PC gaming market because they knew that on some level the PC gaming market was like cutting edge. It had CD-ROM in the 90s or even in the 80s. So PC gaming is really where it's at, I think, and you can't really do it on a Mac either. Is the problem? You can get a Hackintosh, and you can get like a hardware Mac and get like a GPU, thing for it, but it's just not. It's way more expensive. It's way more. You get way more options on PC, and usually the games run better anyways, in almost most scenarios. So, that's kind of one. I mean, like if you're a Mac person, that's really a big reason to go with PC. But you know what? Being a Mac person's dumb anyways. It's like I'm embarrassed to admit that I'm a Mac person. I got on them maybe like 10 years ago, but I think I'm going to go back to PC, Windows. I'm just going to get, probably moving forward, like a Hackintosh system that can do both. Just a custom build PC, multi-core machine. I know, right? Right? You know what I think it was is just Triox is a lot of music software is Mac only. So unfortunately, there's some like music software that I just heavily rely on that has never been available for Windows. And sadly, it's pretty much when Apple bought eMagic and Logic became a Mac exclusive program. And Mac knew exactly what they were doing. Apple knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that they would basically force people like me to have to go over to Mac unless I was like dedicated enough to build some kind of Hackintosh system. So yeah, and that I was one of those people because I was already using Logic, and now I almost kind of exclusively rely on it for a lot of music that I make. I was actually willing to sacrifice Fruity Loops for Logic because that was actually the dilemma I was facing at the time. Is Fruity Loops is Windows exclusive. I use the shit out of it. It's great. Everybody who makes fun of Fruity Loops is a fucking clown. They're part of a conspiracy designed by Ableton Live. Ableton Live psyop. Just kidding. But Fruity Loops is amazing. Anybody who like hasn't used it in a while, if you're listening to this or watching this right now, it blows away Ableton Live. Like there's like so many crazy features in it now that you're just like, what the fuck? Like it's nuts. It's time to move away from Mac. The walled garden is prison. True, Michael. But I don't know when the last time you used a Windows machine extensively was, but they're sort of getting, everything is getting walled garden. That's the creepy part. Nothing is, it's like we're moving in really fast into an era where it's going to be like, oh, remember when you used to be able to download your own software and like save MP3 files you like bought online? I mean, everything's going to be streaming, subscription based. We've talked about this. They've figured out a way to basically completely take away your autonomy when it comes to even the data on your own computer that like you thought you owned. I mean, that's just so bizarre that it's like we didn't even have time, really enough time to process all the Silicon Valley surveillance. And then now it's like, they're already doing this. And it's like, wait, what? And, it just almost used to be sort of a joke, whereas people would be like, man, Adobe's like so like draconian. There's companies like Nazis. Like, what are they up to? They're trying to sue people for using the word Photoshop online. Like like Adobe used to try to sue people for saying something was photoshopped as a term. They wanted to basically make it illegal for you to like talk about that and use the term. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating what they try to do, but they actually try to file lawsuits against people who use the term photoshopped, which is just so absurd because you would think a company would be like, yeah, we want our name to get out there or whatever. But it's like, actually, maybe it's smarter from a long-term capitalistic point of view to just completely control and lock down all of your assets super, super hard. I mean, look what Disney's done. You almost weren't even allowed to get away with parodying Disney for, I think the people who maybe started doing it were almost like going into like legal gray area. Disney had sued people so hard already and gotten people who did like Mickey Mouse parodies and stuff, like financially ruined them. So, it's like it sends like a chilling effect out there. Remember that really sleazy indie movie that came out like 4 years ago where it was like a guy sneaking into Disneyland or Disney World, and it was like a black and white indie movie? You guys remember that? And he actually used all this like imagery from the park. That movie fucking sucked. Like, it made me mad that he actually blew that concept on such a shitty movie. Oh my God. Is that confirmed, John? Before I say that, just tell me it's confirmed, John, or someone else tell me before I say that on the stream. Sorry, I gotta. God. I don't know what Kevin's deal is, but sometimes when people say shit like that, I'm like, is this someone just coming in here to just try to make everyone in this chat look insane? Whoa, this is so ridiculous. Anyways. Okay. So John Gold has just revealed that, sadly, the woman, I don't know if she was part of the protest. I think she was. One of the protesters or people who broke into the Capitol building has died, who was shot in the neck on video. Yikes. That's bad. Huh. Yikes. So, I don't mean to sound like too much of a paranoid, crazy person. I don't mean to sound paranoid, but everything's an op. No, I mean, has anyone considered the possibility that this is some kind of warning? That this wasn't the other shoe dropping, that maybe what we just saw today was some kind of warning? And what does that mean? I mean, I personally got a little bit more concerned today about the idea of somehow the QAnon movement turning on people. Not just blue checkmark journalists who've covered QAnon and tried to expose it, but other people as well. You know, like anyone who identifies as a communist, who could be easily doxxed, who's very anti-Trump. I'm worried about some of those people being targeted, like in places where they work or where they live. So I don't want to make anybody else paranoid to feel what I'm feeling necessarily. I just want to say, just be careful out there. If you sort of are public facing, and you identify as communist, Marxists, openly Antifa, openly anti-Trump, and you've even riled up any MAGA people online, you know, QAnoners, just sort of keep an eye out for things in the next couple of weeks. Because I don't think this is it. There's a reason why this QAnon thing has grown to the level it has. There's a reason why the federal government seems to be, parts of it seem to be endorsing it. This is scary. Okay, interesting. Connie Prantera. Okay, somebody else mentioned this earlier. So this appears to be the new spin, which is fascinating. If this is the case, this is a fascinating way to spin it. Because you know what? This does feed into that idea that Hudson Institute neocon was saying, that the Dems are going to try to do a color revolution. This looked like Euromaidan today. So what Connie Prantera just said is, online QAnons are accusing all in the Capitol building to be Antifa. Connie Prantera says General Q Flynn just called Q Shaman a pedophile. This is very important information, because this could be the spin. And Trump could go out there and be like, now I'm not leaving. They just tried to like frame me for starting a riot. I don't even know what I don't know if he's going to connect the circle or close the circle like that, but it could get weirder from here. It could get weirder from here. And we need to be very, very, very cautious right now of right-wing pro-Trump people pushing conspiracy theories about what we saw today. I think we need to listen to people. If you want to get more into the conspiratorial, you know, what could happen, is this an op or not thing, listen to people like Whitney. I'm trying to think of who else I would even recommend. I mean, obviously, you know, people like John who are here in the chat are trustworthy individuals. So there's other people, I think, you know. And sorry, John, I know you hate the conspiracy label. Sorry. But I think what I'm saying, John, is you're intelligent enough to know the difference between crap conspiracies and things that we should be concerned about. And you aren't someone who denies the deep state and those kind of things. But you aren't someone who thinks Trump is fighting the deep state. So that's the issue. We need to be very careful about people who play into that narrative right now and what they're saying and what they're spreading. Very, very careful. Panagiotis G says, I don't know if it's been mentioned, but New York Times is claiming Pence is sending in the National Guard without Trump's consent. Can you post a link here for that, if you don't mind? It's a URL or something where you've seen that. Even if it's a tweet or something. Yeah, Brennan Garcia, Yasha, and Mark Ames are trustworthy. But they don't really dabble into the conspiracy or prediction or trying to analyze something from the angle of, is this an op? Although maybe Yasha and Mark have kind of gone around those edges somewhat with their Tor and Piero Midyar coverage. But it's not exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying, especially be careful of the people who dabble in the conspiracy realm who are playing into those narratives that I'm talking about. Because there does seem to be, it's undeniable. QAnon is obviously integral to what's happening. It's completely spilled over to the mainstream Republican Party. So the whole conspiracy movement is very integral to this. And it seems like almost everybody's gotten sucked into it. I even saw someone sent me something the other day where it was, I think it was like, someone was posting some meme about Trump that was just like making fun of him getting carried out of the White House. And Stephen Jones responded Stephen Jones, the 9/11 truth like professor from Brigham Young University, said in the replies, mean. That's mean to make fun of Trump. And then the guy was just like, how is it mean? And then Stephen Jones is like, I've looked deeply into the irregularities and this and that. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, is everybody just getting worked by this shit? Like, how is this happening? Like, what is it? It's mind blowing. Call me when they arrest Hillary. Same. Call me when they arrest Hillary. I would like, I mean, yeah, arrest her. Anil says, it's like what Hitler did in Germany. He accused the communists of Reichstag fire to consolidate power. I mean, there's definitely parallels to that, Anil, of how this could be potentially used, but I don't know if it's that. I don't know if Trump is, he's not the Hitler in this equation. I don't think Trump even understands whose agenda he's pushing, to be completely 100% honest. If that makes sense. Trump is some kind of brute force instrument for some faction of the ruling class and the deep state that wants to wage war with the other faction. And we're just sort of in the middle of all this shit. It's quite surreal. I don't really know any other way to explain it. And Rudy Giuliani is like at the top. It's like, I don't know if you guys listened to the episode I did with Whitney Webb on her podcast about Rudy Giuliani and Bernard Kerik, but I mean, it doesn't get any weirder than that. Bernard Kerik's talking about the deep state all the time on Newsmax. Oh, I just saw a 9/11 Pilots for 9/11 Truth rebranding of a guy on Twitter. I don't know his name. I don't remember the name of the person. It's got somewhere around in the neighborhood of like 14,000 followers or something, around the same amount I have. Not that big of a deal. But he seems to be making some kind of headway in the 9/11 truth movement. And if you look at his Twitter timeline, he's saying things like Newsmax are patriots. It's like, wait a second, Newsmax is bringing on PNAC members. Like, what are you talking about? Newsmax, I have clips in A Very Heavy Agenda where Eric Edelman and Bill Kristol and Robert Kagan are going on Newsmax. What in the fucking hell are you talking about, dude? So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, is this some kind of infiltrator? Is this, how could anyone, and then he's even posting stuff from Epic Times. And we've talked about before other people from the 9/11 truth movement who are posting things on social media from Epic Times. And that's crazy. It's crazy. I think anyone who's doing that, who's claiming to be, on the right side of this deep state critique movement, deep politics movement, is not to be trusted right now. Be vigilant, at least for the next 20 days or so. And then maybe, loosen up a little bit after that if you want to. But like, Yeah, Omar Rana. I mean, the administration and the U.S. policies are going to be as bad as Trump. I agree with you on that. There's something, though, about Trump as a person and what he's capable of that's different than what Biden will be capable of. We're going to get. Robbie, Twitter is blocking people from liking Trump's tweets now. I mean, maybe. Not, no offense, Anil, but I feel like that's rather inconsequential of if you really rank of all the things that have occurred today. I mean, Twitter has done much worse than that. Blocking likes, you know. Chris Sean, I mean, it depends on what you mean by fraud. The blanket narrative, the stuff that Trump's movement is spinning about the election is just total scattershot QAnon carrot on a stick stuff. There's nothing that they've done that shows any cohesive fraud has taken place to tip it to Biden. For this much of a coordinated fraud to take place in this many states, it would have had to have been an enormous conspiracy. The only conspiracy that remotely makes sense is that there's so much hatred for Trump that individuals decided to try to sway the election who had inside access. But then at the same time, there's probably people who wanted Trump to win so bad, who hated Biden so badly, that they probably would have wanted to do the same thing too. I mean, this is like one of the most partisan eras we've ever lived in. So I just feel like no matter how you slice it, it would have had to have been an extremely elaborate conspiracy that simply just does not make sense. Trump would have been able to get many more Republicans to go along with this if there was better evidence that Biden stole the election or somehow the Democrats stole the election. All right, well, I am going to have to cut this off kind of unexpectedly. I didn't realize how late it was getting. But I appreciate you guys sticking around for my craziness and whatever we talked about today. But yeah, let's do this again, hopefully tomorrow. I think I'm going to do a stream with Whitney tomorrow, and we're definitely going to talk about what happened today. But thank you, everybody. And as always, if you want access to all previous 103 episodes of MAME Politics, you can get instant access to all of those by becoming a Patreon subscriber of mine at patreon.com/Robbie Martin for $5 a month. And yeah, I'd say about the 5 newest episodes are unlocked. So I just kind of decided to unlock all the ones I've been doing recently, but I'd say about 30% of them or so usually get locked. And locked meaning just like only for patron subscribers. But thank you so much, everybody. And hope everyone had a good new year. And just try to be safe out there. Try to remain calm. Take care.